It is Tuesday, July 21st, 2020. The time is now 6 p.m. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Williston City Council. Mrs. Wright, would you please do a roll call?
Mayor Robinson.
Here.
President Goodman.
I'm here.
Vice President Head.
Here.
Councilmember Jones. Here. Councilmember Robinson. Here. Councilmember Ross. Interim City Manager Stroh.
Present.
City Attorney Fred Hoagland.
Present.
And City Clerk Latricia Wright here.
Thank you.
Microphones, please.
What did you say, Aaron?
Your mic's off.
Mine?
Yep. Everybody's separate.
Mine's on.
Yours is.
I turned it off,
I'll turn it on.
and I'll turn it back on. Thank you, Aaron.
Marguerite,
I turned it off because we're gonna have the prayer.
you can pray with the mic on.
We will now begin with an opening prayer and a pledge of allegiance to the flag led by the mayor.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you with thanksgiving in our heart, but also a troubled heart, Lord. We pray that you would just rid this nation of this virus that has overtaken us, and also the turmoil that is encompassing this great country, Lord. We pray that you would just be with our leaders, our national leaders, that they would do whatever they could to the best of their ability for the people and for the country, Lord. We pray that you would just be with our military men and women wherever they may be. Protect them and bring them back home safely, and be with our police and fire as they go out and protect us and as they do their duty, Lord. We ask that you would be with this council, lead, guide, and direct them, that they would do what is best for this city of Williston, Lord. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Item number 1. Are there any additions, any deletions, or any changes to the agenda by the council?
I'm not sure I saw the community garden on the agenda, and I think we did ask for it to be there.
And I was sure it was on there.
If it's there, I
Item number F under new business.
oh, you're so good, just missed it.
You find it? Yeah.
Wrong end.
Item F. Discussion with possible action, water supply to Williston Community Resource.
Under new business. It's not F under old business, it's F under new business.
It is
Thank
F
you.
under new business.
Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Just making sure.
Any additions or deletions or changes of the agenda by the council?
No.
Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve by Vice President Head
Okay.
and a second by Councilor Jones. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any who are opposed signify the same. Let the record show that all 4 members of the council who are in attendance approve the agenda. Item number 2, public participation. This is the first of 2 opportunities that any member of the public can address the council about anything. We only ask that you do not address about things that are coming up on the agenda. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the
If
council
anyone
at
in
this
the
time?
meeting would like to speak, now's your chance.
Is Mr. Carson at the door? Would you please ask him to show himself to me and let me know if anyone in the other room? No one in the other room has anything they would like to address the council, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Item number 3, consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of A, the minutes of July 7th, 2020 regular city council meeting. B, resolution 2020-29, a resolution approving the repair and install of gas pipe and install of new valves on leaking natural gas line, authorizing the city council president to sign the purchase order and providing an effective date. Item C, resolution 2020-33, a resolution of the city council of the city of Williston, Florida, ratifying the city council president's extension of the state of emergency arising from the COVID-19 public health emergency. And item D, resolution 2020-31, approving an agreement with Wright Pierce for services required in the RFP process to secure a contract for solid waste collection service for the city of Williston, authorizing for the city council president to sign the amendment and provide an effective date. This is from Utility Director C.J. Zamowski. Item E, resolution 2020-31, setting the public hearing dates per trim requirement. And item F, resolution 2020-35, setting the tentative millage rate for 2021 budget year. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Councilor Robinson made a motion to approve consent agenda.
Second motion.
Councilor Jones seconded.
Mr. President?
Yes.
We have the minutes reflect that the resolution 2020-33 actually provides that the mayor will execute the proclamations. I believe that would be a scrivener's error on the agenda. 2020-33 has the mayor signing them after the executive order of the governor 2020-166 went into effect.
Okay, which item are we talking about?
C.
Item C, the resolution ratifying the city council president. You're saying that that should say ratifying the mayor's
Proclamation.
Yes, sir. Moving forward after the enactment of 2020-166 of the governor. The resolution, everything in your agenda is correct. The agenda simply has a typo there. It does not need to be removed from the
Okay.
consent.
Does everybody understand that the mayor has to sign the extension of the state emergency? That is a change to the consent agenda. Is that the only change?
The only one I saw.
I have a motion, I have a second. We need to change the motion. Councilor Robinson?
Well, we have to rescind that motion first. I rescind that motion and, change it to, I move that we approve the consent agenda as corrected.
Excellent.
Second, great.
And we have a motion to approve as it has been corrected by the city attorney, and a second by Councilor Jones. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any who are opposed signify the same. Let the record show that the 4 council members in attendance all voted to approve the consent agenda as changed by the city attorney. Old business. Staff and board and councilor updates. City Manager Strode.
Interim city manager.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're going to
I
talk
didn't
about
even
it.
see that on there.
You'll talk about it later on this evening. I've been keeping most of you up to date with anything that's going on. We still having problems with the door lock, the key reader on the front door. So if any of you having problems, probably have to go into one of the other doors. Aaron and CJ and Jonathan has been trying to figure it out and going back and forth with the manufacturer. The only other thing is that, I started receiving some complaints about the recyclable trash not being picked up on Waste Pro. I reached out to, Trip Lancaster, and, he had 4 drivers who was on quarantine. So that's why they got behind, and they promised me that they would, try to take care of it today and tomorrow.
I know in my area, they were both taken.
I got ours today.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if they were ever put to the recycling, but they were taken.
And actually, that's one of the fallacies, if you will, is that there's no recycling going on at the Levy County landfill. And by county ordinance, all trash collected in Levy County has to go to the Levy County landfill. So, that's,
I want to be very clear about what you just said. Did you just say that there is no recycling at the Levy County landfill, but the ordinance requires that all trash go to the Levy County landfill, therefore by ordinance, the Levy County does not have recycling, they just have a separate day to pick up the trash?
right, that's what Mr. Lancaster shared with me.
Say that again.
That's what Mr. Lancaster shared with me. And I know probably a year, 18 months ago, Waste Pro came from the council because one of the recycling they had to have was with glass. And nobody recycles glass anymore.
Yes, we remember that.
So I guess it's just the world we're in. That's all I have.
Mr. Witt has something.
I know they recycle plastic bottles by the tons of it, so I don't know.
But that's a different thing than what the city manager is saying.
Well, one of you said there's no recycling going on in the landfill.
That's what he just said.
That's what I was told on Waste Pro. I'll verify that and follow up next meeting.
Call the county.
We're all under the impression that there is recycling.
I do know that everything that's collected in Levy County has to go to Levy County.
Yes,
Because at one time, Waste Pro was taken to, I believe, Lockwood County.
yes.
And with this new ordinance that changed 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. It would be interesting to find out if in fact there is no recycling
I will let
being
you
done.
I will let you know.
It seems rather pointless to pick it up on separate days if it's all going to the landfill.
I agree. I will let all of you know by email.
Thank you, sir. Does the city manager have any other updates?
Interim city manager is talking about, y'all gonna talk about picking a new one here shortly.
Yes, we are. I'm sure it is planned for sometime early November. Mr. Williams, CRA. Are you here, Mr. Williams?
Unless he's across the way.
We will wait. Wayne, is Mr. Williams across the way?
No, sir.
Mr. Goodman,
Yes.
I do have one thing, Chief Stiegel's here. He did meet with the county today, and we're planning to give y'all on the updates. We had options, our door number 1, 2, and 3 for the county commission, and he'll tell you which door they pick.
Okay, well, let's get through with what we have, and then I will address Chief Stiegel, because he is not on the agenda.
He's that.
Albert Fuller, Planning and Zoning Commission. Are you present, Mr. Fuller?
I am.
Hi, I'm glad you're present. You're on the agenda.
I think Ms. Gorman is on the agenda to request that my term be extended to 3 years.
Right. Yep, that's the next item on the.
Correct.
Yeah, that's new business, eh?
Right.
We don't have anything to report from planning and zoning at this point.
No.
Okay, Planning and Zoning has nothing, and that is coming up, sir. Chief Stiegel,
Yes, sir.
would you please address the council as to the resolution of the situation?
The resolution of my situation. Absolutely. Is this on? You hear me?
Yes, if you
Okay.
speak close.
Today, I met with the Levy County Board of County Commissioners and their fire advisory board personnel. the city of Williston is going to receive a permanent increase of $49,000 annually. That'll bring our total up, coming in from the county annually, to $297,300. On the issues of the three proposals of covering the areas outside of our contracted areas, they are leaning toward the first proposal, which proposal one, excuse me, proposal one was that in their times that they can't staff the station, they would notify us ahead of time and we would staff it for them at an hourly rate. That is the direction they are leaning, but all three proposals are still on the table. But we, working with the county, I want to say that proposal one is probably the direction they're going to head this year. So,
Sounds like a reasonable proposal anyway.
I think so.
Most economical anyway.
Ma'am?
Most economical.
It is
For them.
for everyone involved. And that would be us using their equipment. The only thing we would use of ours would be our personal protective equipment, our bunker gear and things like that.
So we are not at this time in an agreement to cover more areas than we currently are. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're not looking to cover any more than we're currently covering unless they start paying us hourly to do so. Be that good neighbor like we've always been, but they're stepping up to increase the amount we get for the areas we cover now. So,
Thank you for your hard work, sir.
yes, sir. No problem. Yes, sir.
Oh, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Trying to get this.
Yes, sir.
I have one question. How are the foreclosures going for Winn-Dixie and the other foreclosures?
My understanding that Winn-Dixie is going for auction. I don't have a date yet because I haven't had a chance to check back on that. And we're putting a foreclosure policy together, beginning at our next meeting at Code Enforcement, so that we have a consistent way of moving forward with these. I've had one, trying to think of it, Powell did pay, the one that came before you the last meeting. Just so you know that, they did pay what you settled with. And I have two, so we have a satisfaction lien going to the county, and I have two amendments right now on two other liens. We're gonna put our policy together and then move forward with the foreclosures on the others.
The first one, who did you say was?
The Winn-Dixie property, for what I understand, is going up for auction.
Call it the old Winn-Dixie.
The old Winn-Dixie,
The old
sorry.
Winn-Dixie. Just for clarification.
Yes, Richardson property is going up for auction, and I believe, that's being handled by Harriet Downs.
Well, when you have a date, will you let us know
I
the
certainly
day of the
will.
auction?
I'll make it a point to get it to you tomorrow. I kept up at their website for the last couple of days. We've just been busy, so I haven't had a chance to check.
Is the city willing to make a bid at the auction?
Sure.
I'm asking a question.
I haven't even considered it.
I haven't thought about it, but I.
Does anybody know what the
I would-
taxes are?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what you have to pay, the taxes.
right. How much are the taxes?
Well, are we talking about a
Is
tax
it a
deed
tax
sale?
auction? Is it a tax auction?
I don't have details on it.
You
He
know?
said Harriet Downs was
Just a
doing it.
regular auction?
It's a regular. What I understand, it's a regular auction. The property's going up for
They
auction.
probably have a minimum that they'll take, but
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'll get details and get it to you.
I have a question, Mr. President. Jackie, my favorite intersection, anything on the FDOT?
Yes. We did get, a response from them for some real minor fixes, but it had nothing to do with phasing the signal or anything like that. To me, it was just a little something to try and,
Try to keep us happy.
yes, ma'am.
Never mind, thank you. No comment.
We're now finished with old business, and we will move to item 5, new business, at which we will consider Resolution 2020-32, reappointing Mr. Albert Fuller to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a period of 3 years and providing an effective date. This was brought by City Planner Gorman, but I really see no need for any comment on it. Do I have a motion for resolution? First of all, Mr. Fuller, are you willing?
Yes, I am.
Sometimes that's an important question.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Do I have a motion for resolution 2020-32?
I move that we approve resolution 2020-32, reappointing Mr. Albert Fuller to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a period of 3 years and providing for an effective date.
I have a motion by Councilor Robinson. Do I have a second to that motion? Second. Vice President Head has seconded the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any who are against signify the same. Mr. Fuller, thank you for your willingness to serve, sir.
Thank you.
What's the question for Ms. Gorman?
Yes.
Ms. Gorman, are there not others who also need to be reappointed? And they usually come 2 or 3 at a time.
I know, Laura's done some research on it, we pulled all the information we could find, and that was the only one that we saw up at this point. We're going through all the boards now, seeing we have all of them.
I mean, I know some took places of other people, but they probably should have been appointed for the remainder of that term.
I understand
They're
that.
supposed to.
We saw some problems with them, and we weren't sure where it stemmed from. We're trying to just pick up where we're at, so that we don't lose momentum with who we have. We still have 2 vacancies on planning, so we really don't want to lose anybody at this point, but
Well, I don't want you to
we're
lose
trying.
somebody. I just want to reappoint them if they need to be reappointed.
We're monitoring the best we can, and we're hoping to get a board in here too, so that y'all can see it at some point.
That would be ideal.
We're trying, we're working
It has
with
been
them.
a long time since that board has been in here.
Yes, sir.
Was that all, Councilor Jones?
Yes, sir.
Item B, discussion with possible action. I'm afraid to even start here. Golf carts in the city of Williston by Council Member Jones, who has no fear.
Well, we had a gentleman who came from the crossing who was interested in discussing that. As you know, you're obviously here. And I know the Planning and Zoning Commission took it up at one point, when I was on Planning and Zoning. It was during a period of time when we had the consultants that were here. And I know how the chief feels about it. I know the issues that they have in other cities. And the only thing that the P&Z was looking at the time was to try to do the northeast section of town. They weren't talking about going across the roads, the main highways, the federal or state highways. It was keeping it in that one northeast section where the park is. They could at least get to Hitchcock. They couldn't get to the drugstore. There were definitely some issues. Ms. Latricia looked it up for me. We tried to get a response back from FDOT and never really got anything. They needed more specifics before they would talk to us about crossing US 27.
Yeah, we cannot create an ordinance
Of course not.
that lets them cross
No,
27.
not without them. And all I was thinking is somebody could work with them to see if it was even feasible, if it was even worth their while to want to go in northeast only. Because that's the only section they could get in without crossing a federal or state highway. And I don't even know if you're interested in that. But since the gentleman who is not here tonight, by the way, is he here? Ooh,
Yes, he is.
right in
Hi.
my face. He looks like a bandit tonight. I'm sorry, I missed you. Yes, that we at least needed to talk about it. Since it was not on our agenda last time, so now we can't talk about it.
Yeah.
I think we all got something from the chief,
Okay,
just me.
let's start with discussion from the council. Anybody on the council have any comments about the possibility of this?
I have a problem with approving an area. You know darn well that area, that they're gonna cross the line. Somehow, one of them is gonna cross the line, something's gonna happen. I would not be for it at all.
I thought she was gonna have my same concern, mine's a little different, which was, how do we limit to that area? I know it's due to the crossings.
Right.
And their use of the golf carts in there, but then if, you know, the Northwest Quadrant decides that they wanna do it too, does every quadrant get one and they just can't cross certain boundaries? I don't know how you ever stop that.
Absolutely, the Northwest.
Well, it was mostly the RV park that came to us.
Yeah.
That's why I was
No,
in that area.
I was just pointing out I'm just afraid if we were to pass that, then the next one comes along, it may be good or bad, I'm just thinking that's what's coming
And I would
next.
also say that, in the ordinances that we were looking at from other cities, we meaning planning and zoning, we were looking at golf carts that had lights and turn signals and all those things that
Windshields.
they have, windshields, exactly. The things that you have to be on a highway, even if it is a city street. Not just a regular golf cart. It had to be a full-fledged vehicle.
So
And
where
had-
did you end
And you had to
up,
have a license
President?
to drive. Not a golf cart, but a car.
I do appreciate what the crossings brings to Williston and the economic impact. I'm not sure how beneficial it is if they have to stay in that section of town. I'm not 100% opposed to it, but I just don't understand what the benefit really would be at this point.
Maybe they could bring us a proposal.
Chief Stroh,
Now that you've mentioned it, the
City
last,
Manager Stroh.
interim city manager, the last time there was a request for golf carts, it did come from the northwest section of the city.
Yes.
I've talked to Sumter County Sheriff's Office back then, it's been 2 or 3 years ago, and they were averaging an investigation of about 75 golf cart crashes a month in Sumter County. I talked to a chief in a neighboring jurisdiction today that said they have crashes, they have traffic accidents, they have injuries, and one of the problems is they have juveniles driving. Under Florida law, at the age of 14, you can drive a golf cart with no license.
Well, so what we were looking at said you had to have a license to
Okay.
drive a car.
Some quick statistics, since 1990, golf cart accidents in America have increased 300%. 30% of accidents occur on streets. Children make up 30% of the golf cart accident victims, and 40% of serious golf cart injuries occur from the people being thrown out of the cart. And 60% of the accidents overall involve seniors and children. A golf cart is just simply not made to be on public streets. And I guess and Terry and Mark can side with some stuff. I've been doing this a long time. There's certain things, images are embedded in my memory. And one I will never forget was in the golf cart community, where a man was on the way home from the community center and was rear-ended by a pickup truck at 35 miles an hour. I'll never forget that. And again, there's no seat belts, there's no safety equipment, there's no doors, and the majority of the accidents, if you look at, are where people are thrown out of them. About 6 months ago, they actually had a fatality in the village, just where somebody was thrown out and hit the head on the sidewalk. So, you know, I'll do what the council says to do, but I just really have a problem with it. And again, if you approve it for the northeast, then the northwest, and the southeast, and the southwest, and I have actually called people from the crossings at Ace Hardware on the golf cart. So they're crossing somewhere. And when you have a slow-moving vehicle that runs 7 to 12 miles an hour, sometimes on North Main, it's all I can do to get across with a Hemi. You know, so it's not the safest thing in the world.
Well, I will speak on it often. I have a golf cart. The northwest section, if you approve this, will be knocking on your door next. Because my biggest concern is to approve it for one area and not another. I think that's inappropriate.
Do you have one with lights and certain
I
things?
do not.
Okay, well then it wouldn't be approved.
Yeah,
You'd
I-
have to get a permit from the city to drive it, and it wouldn't pass.
I understand, but I still would be at your door. I might get one with those things if I could do it. I mean, there are good reasons to allow them. I had a citizen who simply wanted to take her children from a area in the northwest section to the park. And she didn't want to have to crank up her car and drive her car over there, and she wanted to use a golf cart to do it. I thought that was reasonable. We did not have a law that allowed it. Her husband said, no, it's against the law, I'm not doing that, we're not buying one. So, I think I have to agree with Vice President Head, is that if we do this, which I am in favor of, just to be clear, then it will come back to haunt us. And for that reason, I would not be in favor of it. So,
Well, I would just add that to the crossings, if you have a proposal that actually gives us more information about where you would like to go and why you would like to go, maybe that's what we need to see to possibly change somebody's mind. Because you hear what they say. I believe that if we license them, maybe in all 4 areas, and you had to have a license to drive, and it had to be lights, turn signals, I believe it called for seatbelts too. We'll have to look that up. If we looked at the planning and zoning, not the minutes, but the attachments to the minutes, we should be able to find
I
out.
think there's also regulations on crossing state roads.
Oh, there definitely are.
So,
But
but you could do the individual quadrants,
Right.
and all of the individual quadrants have the same rights, which is my concern.
and I don't know if it's muddy water, but some of our city streets are actually county roads also. Like, Northwest Second Avenue is a county road.
Yeah, it will be a logistics nightmare for the police department.
Well, like I said, you'd have to come to the city to get a license, a permit, not a license, a permit,
Right.
to have one on the street.
We were in a golf resort, and case in point here, there was a gentleman, and he had a 3- and 5-year-old in this golf cart, and they were both standing up, and it terrified me. And that just, I can just see that happening somewhere in the city.
But they also are very susceptible to rollovers. One of them, when I was doing some research for this meeting, Panama City has got real big into the golf carts, and they've had, I think, 3 fatalities so far this year. And with turn signals and everything else, and turning and being broadsided.
How many car fatalities have they had this year?
I don't know.
How many horse riding fatalities have they had this year?
Probably
He
not.
is in favor, listen to him.
No, I am in favor, but I see it as a
You are.
logistical nightmare.
But then again, you have to, if you're gonna start, how many car fatalities, how many cars on the road, and how many miles versus how many golf carts?
Yes, it's a logistical nightmare.
But you can actually, if you Google it, you actually have law firms now that specialize in golf cart accidents. It's not saying it's getting to be a frequent thing.
Well, we're trying to improve Mr. Coberlin's intake.
As I said,
I'm looking at repairs and sales in Sumter County.
Hey, there you go. The reason I put it on the agenda is because they asked us to.
Okay, I think it's a good thing to have on the agenda for your information. I would like to see it, but I see logistics, personally, I see the logistics nightmare for the police department in trying to enforce it. As the city manager has pointed out, I'm sorry, I forgot that. He is seeing golf carts without approval crossing, unless they flew, they would have to have a pilot's license to do that. They were crossing 27, which is a wonderful thing to be able to do. but they were doing it without the permit. So I just had these premonitions of the logistical nightmare that it would give this. We have a police force that is stretched already. And to ask them to police this in addition to their other duties, I think may be more than they could handle. So I'm going to be against it, but I'm for it, if that makes any sense at all, sir.
Good thing. Good thing. Personally, you're for it. As a council member, you're against it.
That is well said.
I hear what
Thank
you're
you.
saying.
You're riding on both sides of the car.
Right.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go, yeah.
I
My
actually,
turn
That
over.
was good, that was good.
I have a golf cart, which of course I would never ride within the city.
Ooh, of course.
What?
I was having a conversation.
I was just reading and heard something and never mind.
So, anyway, so we're not gonna do that, is what I hear from the council at this time. However, we're not saying never. If you can bring us a proposal that we can live with, we might reconsider. But it has to be much more specific than, gee, can we have golf carts in the city? I think that speaks accurately for the council. Okay.
And somebody help me find the attachment we had in planning and zoning, where it said all those regulations. I know we found the minutes, so it should be close at hand with those minutes, I would think, whatever year that was. Maybe you could find the agenda that had the attachments on it, or whatever date that was. It would give more specific. Thank you, sir. I'm very helpful.
Item C, discussion with possible action, airport restructuring by Airport Manager Benton Stiegel.
There it is, right there.
Mr. Stiegel, you would like to be restructured?
Somewhat, yes, sir. It's more of a staffing restructure.
Okay.
So, just wanted to, bring some things before the council tonight, and the topic was brought up with, the former city manager's departure, that it may be time to reevaluate the staffing structure of the airport. So I was tasked by a couple of different people, one of those being our former city manager, to actually, come up with a concept to restructure the staffing. Currently.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are you telling me that before the former city manager resigned, you and him had a conversation about restructuring the city manager resource for the airport? That he knew he was leaving and contacted you and said, let's restructure this? I just want to understand.
I can't, I can't speak to his intentions for departing the city. What
I don't care. I'm asking, did he talk to you about restructuring this
When he was here.
when
during the
he was
budget
still
conversation.
here as the city manager? Which is what I think you said.
Yes, sir, we spoke on it due to the fact that he was not able to keep up with a lot of the lease agreements.
Okay, this conversation was before he resigned.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Thank you, that helps.
Okay.
Okay,
Given his departure, we now have the opportunity to, not necessarily shake things up, but to give us a little bit more leeway and a little more continuity out at the airport. Some of the pros of restructuring would be better accountability. There were several things within my first year here that got lost in the shuffle, as it were, between the city manager, the city clerk, and a couple of different, different places within the city that had to be approved in the proper places in the proper order concerning grants, leases, and, there are a couple of leases that are still to this day that are not, up to par, which you'll be starting to see more of on the council here, or on the agenda here soon. But, we're trying, we could alleviate that if we had all of the airport paperwork being done out at the airport. Also, you have better continuity between customers. So the average city manager, their lifespan in a given city is 3 to 5 years. And that was from a study conducted by the University of Northern Illinois. And if you look at that, that's kind of a staggering figure. 3 to 5 years. If you're looking for a customer or customers wanting to come in and say, hey, we would really want to invest in your city, or we really want to invest in airport land, but this guy's only going to be here 3 to 5 years, and they know that. If they're looking for a 50-year lease, which is what the FAA allows us to, they're going to be kind of skeptical on everything that goes along with it. Being out of the airport, we would be able to give them a little bit more reassurance that that change isn't necessarily going to happen. Not to say that I'm going to be here forever in the airport manager position, but that the airport would have more control over airport activities. Obviously with the approval of the council, but we would just have more control over everyday operations and some of those leases. The drawback to restructuring of the airport staffing is budgetary. And in that, it comes with us having to hire a couple more part-time team members. We have, and we discussed it on, last Tuesday night, the budget hearing, or budget workshop, I should say. Mr. Bloom said that we were able to bring on 2 more part-time team members at 30 hours every 2 weeks, and we would still be well within our budget constraints. So that's kind of the quick down and dirty. I just want to touch on a couple more points that I feel just need to be just reiterated. So the current structure of the airport is the city manager, the airport supervisor. I have 2 full-time team members and 2 part-time team members. We do 10-hour days. We have 10-hour operations. We start at 7:30 and end at 5:30. We're 7 days a week. And that's about it. We do a lot. I'll get to the statistics of that in just a second. The proposed structure would be an airport manager or airport operations manager, an FBO supervisor, an administrative assistant, and 4 part-time team members. We would have no loss of coverage due to added responsibilities that we would need, and we would still be able to maintain. Now, the question that I'm sure is weighing on all of your minds.
That's still 5 full-time people, right? If you put it all together, isn't it still only 5 full-time equivalents?
No, ma'am, we're looking at just the 3. The airport manager, the FBO supervisor, and the admin would be the full-timers.
I know, but you have 4 part-timers who make up 2 more.
So,
Equivalents.
I spoke to...
But you've got 5 equivalents now.
Equivalent.
So it's the same, is what I'm saying. With your 2 part-timers make up 1 equivalent, 1 full-time,
Okay.
right?
That was a question, not...
Yeah, it was a question.
Not
I mean, I
particularly.
realize it's 60 hours instead of 40.
Right. And we're not using them as 60 hours. We're at least weekly. So these 2 new part-time team members will be coming on for 30 hours every other week.
Right.
So it's not an
And
exact...
60s, we're all getting about 60.
Yes, ma'am. It's not quite an equivalent. We're running the 3 full-timers and then the 4 part-timers. Each one of the part-timers is only going to be doing 30 hours every other week. So yes, we would have 60 hours per week. They would just be on 2 different teams every other week.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Benton before I start?
Can I give you the whys to why we need them?
You may give me, I hope you're gonna give me something, because I got a lot of questions.
Okay. Currently, the team members out at the airport and myself, We have around 1,500 mobile acres that we have to maintain. We maintain all the runway and taxiway lightings, all the hangar lighting, including the T-hangar, bulk hangar, and the FBO itself. We are required to move aircraft safely in and out of the bulk hangars, and we're required to fuel all base and transient aircraft. We average about 340,000 gallons of fuel a year for the past 3 years. And in the last 90 days, we have conducted or serviced 641 separate operations. So between the 3 full-time team members and the 2 part-time team members that we have right now, who currently work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, those part-timers do, we're pretty well tasked out. What we would be adding to our workload is managing all of the land leases, both current and, unfortunately, some expired that need to be renewed. Managing all accounts receivable from City Hall, and planning and execution of all airport improvement plans, master plans, grants, or updates and grants. And that's about it. It's quite a big, it sounds minuscule on paper, but when you think about how many leases we have out of the airport, it's quite a bit. We're looking at about 50 different leaseholders.
Anybody else? Mr. Benson.
Yes, sir.
The former city manager, who was an airport manager, correct?
Yes, sir.
Fulfilled that position,
Yes, sir.
correct? And you're saying that, if I understand this proposal, that we need to hire 4 part-time people because the former city manager is no longer with us.
I understand where that's coming from, or where you
Sure.
would say that. But in essence, we're only hiring 2 more part-time team members. We currently have we currently have 2 part-time team members on board. We're only hiring 2 more part-time team members at around 15 hours a week, or 30 hours every other week. I mean, we would also, as far as budgetary constraints go, we would be, that allotment from the city manager would be coming back to the airport, along with some of the paperwork allotment that is taken from the city CSRs.
And do you have a number on what that allotment is?
I do not have exact number, no, sir.
I will say it's hard to have an exact number when it hasn't been kept up to date as it should have been.
Not only that, but we can't account for the entire allotment from the city manager being assumed back into the airport due to the fact that we do share some of the burden for the oversight from the city manager. So Mr. Bloom said that we were good as far as it goes to assume a portion of it, but we can't just assume all of it, because the city manager does still provide oversight, and I completely understand that. But we're not able to assume the entire allotment from City Hall out to the airport. So it's hard to get a hard number from that. Yes, sir.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this, but current structure, you're the airport supervisor.
Yes, sir.
And you have 2 full-time.
Yes, sir.
In the proposed structure, you're the airport operations manager.
Yes, sir.
And you have an FBO supervisor.
Correct.
That's one of your current full-time too?
He would be, yes, sir. Or that team member would assume that role, yes, sir.
But right now, you don't have an FBO supervisor.
That's correct.
He's it now.
You're it.
Yeah,
plus-
I'm all of it, yes, sir.
Well, I will say, questions that I've asked in the past and the meetings that I've had with the city manager, the leases are a mess and they have to be straightened up. And we may take that task on with the new city manager, but that has to be fixed and cleaned up.
Not just the leases, but the billing.
Yes.
is also behind.
Well, Benton, you've been doing this.
Oh, he's
for-
catching it up.
I'm attempting to catch it up, yes, ma'am. I've worked on, in the past 2 to 3 weeks, I've drafted a couple of different documents and sent them out to customers for signature. I've been working very closely with Mr. Coverline and Ms. Verdi to try to catch some of these documents up that are already behind.
Good, thank you.
Your Honor?
How much personnel would you be needing to utilize here in the city that you could not handle out at the airport if this goes through?
Ideally, if this goes through, and I've already kind of started working with one of my team members, working hand in hand with Ms. Birdie, we wouldn't need anything from the city.
That team member could handle what Birdie is doing?
I believe so, yes, sir.
So you would be handling all the operations at 100%?
Yes, sir.
And it would be up to date.
Yeah,
That's the point
well,
right there.
the city council's gonna see some of the problems with the
Yes,
leases,
they will.
whatever, here in the future when they come
Right.
before the city council, and they're gonna get an idea of how messed up it was, but that's beside the point, that's another day. Okay.
And the city manager's role in this then would be
Oversight.
oversight of the
Over-
manager
over-
of the airport.
oversee
Basically.
them.
He would report to the city manager.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And I have no doubt that Mr. Stiegel is qualified for that position. He's done an excellent job already trying to get it straight. And his customer service with the tenants is excellent as well. I have no problem with it. I'm ready to go.
I have no problem getting those leases straightened
Right.
out, something that has been needed to be done for months.
Right.
And we've been questioning those leases for a long time. I have no problem with it.
I understand the need. I know we're not really in a position where we want to be hiring new employees, but utilizing part-time and the way the restructure looks, I think I'm okay with it.
Mr. Bloom was okay with it, that the airport can handle it.
I guess I'm the only one that's not okay with it.
Of course.
Why are you not okay with that?
Why?
That's a
Let me
good question,
answer the
thank you.
question.
Thank you, thank you.
I want to know.
You do that for
Well,
a
maybe not.
Oh, yes, I always want to know. May not agree, but I want to know.
I am concerned that this is being done with a knee-jerk reaction. I believe that we need to investigate what the true costs are and understand exactly what we're doing instead of just saying we need to do this. My understanding was that the city manager, the former city manager, really did very little for the airport. He was supposed to do more, but he really did very little.
That's the problem.
And if the former city manager did very little, why are we suddenly needing to hire 4 part-timers to fill the vacancy that the former city manager never had?
We can only be hiring 2 part-time.
Okay,
Because we already have 2.
Your Honor, I will let these 2 finish beating up on me, and then I'll let you.
Yeah, you already have 2, so it's only 2 extra.
Correct.
Okay, Your Honor?
Okay, well, one answer is that they will be doing 100% of the work, and none of it will be here handled at the city. Now, since Mr. Stiegel has come on board, he has been doing 100% of the work, even when we had the former city manager here.
So why do we need 2 part-time workers if he's
Because
already
we're-
doing 100% of the work?
Because we're not, we need that personnel to handle the administrative parts.
Right.
Verdi has been handling it, and other people have been working, on the administration side here for the airport here with these 2 part-times, not full-times, not benefits, full-time, but part-times. they are going to assume 100% of the work, and no one at City Hall is gonna have basically anything to do with the airport. It's gonna be autonomous out there, with the exception of reporting directly to the city manager.
And when you look at the proposed structure, the airport operations manager we already have, the FBO supervisor is somebody he's going to promote from within. The administrative assistant is already full-time and at the airport, not somebody new. 2 part-time people are already there, or 1 part-time.
2.
2 part-time are already there.
And we're gonna have 2 more.
So it's simply 2 additional, so that he can do the managerial work that he needs to do.
That he's already doing.
I'm not able to dedicate
He
the
has
time
to
needed.
stop and fuel a plane, or
Right.
stop and tow a plane
So
out of a
I'll be in
location.
the middle of, typing up part of a lease document.
Right.
And a jet will come in, and I'll have to go fill up, that jet for, 300 to 500
Yeah.
gallons, then come back, pick up where I was, if another jet doesn't fly in right behind it.
Verdi has been doing a lot of the leases and a lot of the administrative staff, like he just explained, that he has not had time to do, but has been doing the other part of the operations.
Well, if Verdi has been doing it, why do we need to change it again?
Because Verdi's not gonna be here forever.
Pardon me?
Verdi will not be here forever. Verdi is a part-time.
She's only on she's a part-time person.
I thought you would not be here forever.
She was a
None
temporary.
of us will, we're all
part-time.
terminal.
She's temporary
She's a
part-time.
temporary
Right, she came
part-time.
back to try to help the
Help
building
out,
situation,
We
because,
had problems.
we realized how bad it was, and they came to help.
I would like to have more numbers. You can't tell me how much the city manager's salary went to that position. You said something like Stephen said
If I go get my.
some of it or
or
part of it. If you wanna get it, let's get it on an agenda and look at it in a comprehensive way, not just say we wanna do it. I'm just not in favor of that type of an approach. It's that simple. I think you will do a good job should you get that position. But we owe it to ourselves and to the rest of the citizens to be able to examine exactly what we're doing, and I frankly don't have it right now.
Well, Stephen has.
It's already in the budget, if we
And it's in the
discussed it at
budget.
the budget workshop.
Correct.
I remember
It's on the
discussing it,
agenda.
and I remember-
Discussion with possible action.
That is what it's there, possible action, not we're going to do it.
Well, if we get a motion, we'll be doing it.
And that's right, I have no problem being outvoted, but I've let everyone else speak, and now I'm speaking to it. And my position is I would need a lot more information before I could be in favor of this. So if somebody wants to put a motion forward and outvote me, I will be fine with that, because I happen to think Mr. Stiegel is a competent, excellent person, and I have no problems with Mr. Stiegel, but I have problems with this being done the way it is. So outvote me and we can all be happy.
Mr. President,
Yes,
one issue that hasn't been addressed is that, and I think that the council, if you want to move forward with, the airport manager's proposal, is that you speak to your HR director, because if you're going to take out of the current structure, if you're going to eliminate the city manager and go to the proposed structure, then you're going to have a change in your HR manual process.
we do no longer have an HR, Mr. Coberly.
Oh, wait. I appreciate that. I'm talking about the HR manual that you just paid quite a bit of money and spent a long
Yes,
time.
and what I'm telling you is we do not have an HR director
We have to approve the
to give it
restructure
to.
before we can do it.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you've already got a delay there. But what I'm trying to get to here is that if you're going to take the city manager out of the current structure, then you're going to affect the HR process in your HR manual.
I agree.
Substantially.
In other words,
So-
we need to leave the city manager in the proposed structure as oversight.
I'm not sure what.
That's strictly what he
No,
does.
we can change it, but we just have to do it correctly.
I think in the manual, he's probably oversight.
He is,
only.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's only oversight.
Oh, he's oversight, the city manager accepts all appeals.
Right.
If the airport manager wants to discipline someone, then the appeal goes to the city manager. We've had an
And I
issue.
think we would wanna leave it that way.
Right.
I would still wanna leave that way.
Right, I think the city manager should be over that part.
I think it actually helps delineate. We just need to add his name back to the top of the list as oversight, because a portion of his salary will be there, as indicated by Mr. Bloom currently in the budget. And like I said, if I need to go to my car and grab it, I will, because it's there.
What are you going to grab?
The budget that actually has the airport and how much of the city manager's salary was listed.
Well-
If you look at that salary page, it shows you the allocation between the funds.
Mhm.
It would show you how much of the city manager's salary was allocated to the airport, because if I remember right, I wanna say there was $15,000 still.
The number 9,500 comes to mind, but I can't recall.
And
right
I once again am going to say the same thing.
Yes, sir.
You're saying we can go get it, we can do this, but we don't have it. And that is my grievance with the process. I would like to see a more thorough process. I'm sure you will do a wonderful job. I'm sure that this should happen at some point. I just am uncomfortable with the process as it is being had currently. That's my opinion. Yes, Your Honor.
Can we wait till next meeting, put this on the agenda, bring the numbers and bring the HR information and have all that information, so at that time, it can be discussed, it can be looked at, and then it can be brought to a vote.
We can do anything that we wish.
Just asking.
Yeah, no, I understand. It is just a matter of the will of the council. If that's what the council wants to do, if the council wants to make a motion to approve this, it's up to the council.
I would move that we move forward with the new structure.
You're
And that-
making a motion, to be clear.
I am.
Okay?
And that we continue to discuss the budget as it pertains to it at our next budget hearing.
I'm a little confused, but that's not unusual.
Well, we need to move forward with the structure in order to start changing things in the budget. And
So
we need
you
to kind of
do
give this a
not
bloom.
want, at this time,
She's moving
I
that
do.
we move forward.
Yes, that's what I said.
I
So we
would
move
second
forward
that.
with the new structure, and it can be reviewed for your liking at the next budget hearing.
to be clear, you are making a motion to move forward with changing the structure after we have fully documented what we want
No,
to do.
we want to
No.
move forward.
You want to
with
do it.
With the structure, with the proposed structure.
I just want to understand what we're doing.
Naming Mr. Stiegel as the airport manager.
Listing the city manager back in the proposed structure, so that it actually meets with the HR manual. We'll review that section as we go. But yes, the proposed structure, as it is proposed, adding the city manager back with oversight over the airport operations manager.
Right.
I mean, just to be sure, that's not all the motion, obviously. My motion is that we go ahead with proposed structure, leaving the airport manager as the oversight. I'm leaving the city manager as the oversight over the newly proposed airport operations manager.
Right. Understood. And I second that.
And what was the piece about the HR manual, just making sure it's in compliance?
And I think it will be. I think it will be if we leave the city manager in there.
Because we left the city manager.
And he would have been there
as-
anywhere,
in
anyway,
the
whether we
HR.
left him there or not. Because he's the city manager, he's over all the division heads.
Right.
He's not an independent, autonomous body. The city manager.
I work
Well,
for
his
the-
father
Yeah.
might
The
question
city
that.
manager will always be over the division head. He's essentially becoming a division head.
So with this motion, you are not moving Mr. Stiegel to airport operations manager?
I am.
You are.
Yes.
That's what I
I
want to
only
be clear.
ordered put the city manager back over there with him for only oversight only. as it is currently in the proposed budget.
Correct.
We reviewed that at our last budget hearing. We just don't know the exact dollar amount, because the budget's in the car and nobody else knows one either.
Right.
If you move the city manager to the proposed side,
Yes.
it appears other than some title changes, you're simply adding 2 part-time team members.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I said 15, 20 minutes ago.
I thought that's what I said.
I don't think so. I said we already had 2, we only need 2 more.
So, the airport manager's time at the podium has been to request 2 part-time employees, and it's being approved subject to budgetary.
And a
workshop.
restructure of job title. Right, he would become airport operations manager. He's currently the airport supervisor. Right. Now he's gonna be the operations manager with oversight of the city manager.
I'm sorry, the airport ops manager is going to oversee the city manager?
No.
Okay, yeah, so all you've done is retitle from supervisor to manager.
Yes,
A
exactly.
manager supervises.
Exactly.
And a supervisor manages.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Except there's an FBO supervisor.
FBO is doing the managing operations of the airport, not all the leases and the,
Yeah,
billing.
they're a full-time team member, which is same as the other column.
exactly.
Right.
Admin assistant is full-time, which meets into the other bullet point.
And those
And so
people
we're
are
back to
part-time.
2 part-time team
Two
members.
part-time.
being added.
So
Correct.
And so that stays well within the HR manager.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
Thank you.
absolutely no change except the title
Title.
and 2 additional part-timers.
Right.
That's what we've been saying.
I've been saying that for 30 minutes.
No.
I really do. I mean, I've been saying it very well. I'll say it.
So,
We have a motion.
we have a motion, and the motion is that we move the FBO supervisor and make him airport operations manager. Is that accurate?
That we make the airport
Airport
supervisor.
supervisor to the
Airport operations
manager.
I thought that's what I said.
Uh-uh.
No, that's not what I said.
Uh-uh. You said move the FBO supervisor to the airport operations manager. That's the
Yes.
airport.
Now, we're moving the airport supervisor to airport operations manager.
Right.
What is your title?
Airport supervisor, sir.
Thank you.
Who is the FBO supervisor?
They
We don't have one.
don't have one, no, sir.
Okay.
Okay, when I say FBO, I'm talking about the same thing. He's the airport supervisor.
Well, the fixed base
But it
operations.
says on there, the proposed structure is the FBO supervisor. That's what it actually says.
And that's gonna be one of the 2 full-time team
Right.
members. It's gonna move into that position, not Mr. Stiegel.
One of the 2 full-time team members is going to move into FBO supervisor.
Correct. And one of the other full-time team members. is gonna
Somebody
move-
needs to write this motion down, because this
Well, that's not part of the
motion.
motion, that's part of the structure.
We've already got the motion and the second.
The other full-time team members move into the administrative position. And has already started training on all the billing and assistance with Mr. Stiegel. The 2 part-time people will continue as 2 part-time, he's asking for 2 more, so that he can have the managerial time he needs and not get interrupted
We
on the
need
basis.
him because to get all these leases straight.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Coberly.
sometime in the recent past of the city council, it was voted on and approved that when possible, council actions would be reduced and memorialized in writing, such as a resolution. This would be a great opportunity for that. For example, there would be an exhibit to a resolution of the new structure that is being proposed, and then it would be put into our official records, and anyone could look back on how this discussion on July 21st turned out, and what the motion was, how it was seconded, and it passed. And so those brilliant former council members were looking towards July 21st of 2020, when they suggested that, when possible, action would be reduced to writing and memorialized.
I think that is an excellent point,
Exactly.
and that gets me exactly to what I was trying to say, is that this needs to be done properly, and it feels improper, and if I understand the city attorney, because I will never try to put words into the city attorney's mouth, I think he's suggesting that if we're going to do this, we need to write it down, have a form, show the form, and then do what the form says instead of just jumping out and saying we're gonna do this.
And I say we pass the motion.
Right.
Okay?
Saying that we're going to restructure so that he can write the resolution.
Exactly.
I want to make sure we're clear. I will write the resolution. I will not write the exhibit because I'm a little unsure
You're hasty,
what
huh? Sorry.
the titles are doing here, what effect.
That's easy.
But I will certainly
So the
help with the
city
resolution.
manager could write the exhibit, and
Along with Mr. Siegel.
if he needs the, I don't know what you are, Mr. Siegel, anymore, the airport supervisor, manager, I know you've been managing the airport for some time,
Airport operations.
and I
manager.
thank you for that service, and I think you've been doing a wonderful job. My issue is procedure,
Understood.
and that's what I'm trying to get. So, we have a motion on the floor. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And that motion is because the city clerk needs to have something to write down. So tell us what
City
that
clerk, you want to
motion
read it
is.
back, or you want me to try to restate it?
You want to say it?
I don't care.
And the part about the resolution?
Yes, that would be a good idea.
All right.
Yes. Okay, and looking at the proposed structure, the motion is to accept the restructuring of the airport with city manager as oversight, presenting an airport operations manager, an FBO supervisor, administrative assistant, and 4 part-time team members. And that we follow that up with a resolution to memorialize it. And I second that again.
So we have a motion. Does everybody fully understand the motion? Any discussions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All who are opposed signify by saying aye. The motion passes. You will get 2 new people. As I understand the motion, you will become airport operations manager after this motion is memorialized, not before. And you will get your 2 new team assistants, and we will be able to move forward.
As of October 1st, of course.
Right.
And at the next budget hearing is next Tuesday, right? We have a budget hearing next Tuesday, anybody remember? Oh, we have one every other. And we can, we'll bring the whole budget back down and look at it. And it's already there, we just need to review it again.
Right.
With this in mind. And that's what brought it me to, to put it on the agenda, and Denton picked it right up and ran with it, did a nice PowerPoint for it. Because we really couldn't memorialize it in the budget either until we gave permission for it to happen.
The next budget meeting is August the 11th.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So it's after the next city council, not this one. Thank you. We'll have it all be.
You got it, sir?
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel.
And
We've needed to do that for a long time. Yes.
we will move forward with the motion that was voted. All members of the council voted for that motion, Mrs. Wright, except for the council president, who was contrary.
He'll be okay once we.
He'll be okay, I suppose.
He'll be good once we get to the numbers.
Okay. Moving forward. one we've all been waiting for. Even my mouth has been waiting for it. Discussion. Item D, discussion with possible action, Aerial Paradise Services providing service to the airport. You are now officially airport manager, Siegel, so tell us. Operations airport manager, Siegel.
I believe most of the council was here earlier this year when, prior to COVID hitting everybody, that I had the presentation on the upgrade to the self-serve terminal. Does everybody remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so the quote that you have before you is partially for that and is partially pertaining to another issue with our self-service system. The other issue with the self-serve system is we had, in March of last year, we had a Department of Environmental Protection person come out and do an on-the-spot inspection, and he informed us that there was a new law passed and our underground fuel line was not in compliance with the new law that had passed. So the bottom part of this quote is to bring us in compliance with that. I'm sure your question is going to be, where is the funding coming from? The funding, the total is $29,775.17. We were granted a CARES grant from the federal government of $30,000. That invoice was submitted and approved by the FAA earlier this week.
Thank goodness. Woo-hoo.
There's money left over.
Just a little.
A whole 25.
Not more than that.
A little more than that, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So there is no resolution here, we're just looking for a consensus, I assume.
Yes, sir. It's a large amount of money. I wanted to bring it before the council before we executed it all.
So does every member of the council understand what this is about? Does any member of the council have a problem with the airport getting a grant for $30,000 and then being forced to spend it, $25,000 of it, because they passed a law without funding to implement the law? And did I say that with enough
Yeah.
negativity?
I believe so, sir.
Okay.
It worked, it's fine.
Yeah.
Fortunate for the grant, clearly.
Very fortunate.
Everybody agree with moving forward?
Yeah.
You have the council's blessing to move forward with that.
You do.
Yeah, for $30,000, let's put a motion.
Well, yeah, it says,
I
discuss
approve,
with possible action, so we might.
I approve the invoice for Aero Paradise for the two items, single controller van line Ethernet, as well as the underground piping for the fuel farm, to be paid for by the COVID CARES Act.
grant.
Thank you.
Grant.
CARES grant, CARES Act.
Second. Mrs. Wright, do you understand the motion? Have a motion by Councilor Jones and Vice President, who are you? Vice President Head has seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any who are opposed signify the same. Let the record show that all four members who are present on this council meeting voted to approve Councilor Jones' motion. Discussion with possible action, the process of city manager application, brought to you by the council.
Woo-hoo.
Okay. what we're here tonight to do is try to get a process. And we have all, I presume, come prepared with a list of candidates.
I don't have my list with me.
Do you have it memorized?
No. No.
Okay.
I can go get it.
Okay. So what we're looking at here, since we are not all prepared to actually put forth names, is a process. When we were last doing this, I think we limited it to 5.
You said no, Denver.
I know we said no. When we last did this, we
last.
limited it to 5. So what I would propose is that what we need to do at the next council meeting, or if not that, in November. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I thought we were gonna give our top ones tonight
We can't.
and vote.
We
Not
can't.
vote, but put the numbers, the names together like.
We can't.
We can't, why not?
One of the council members does not have
She
their
can
list.
add hers later.
I can run home real quick.
That's not going to happen. We have to do this at a time that we're prepared to do it. So,
I hate to put it off for 3 more weeks.
I don't like putting it off either, but that is the hand we've been dealt, and we need to do it. We need to have a proper sequence of voting.
If we all turn in, as you said at our last meeting, we all turn in our top however many to the city clerk. And she presents us, it used to be to the HR director, we don't have that person anymore. So I'm assuming it's gonna be the city clerk
Or the city manager.
or the city manager.
Interim.
Then they could bring us back a list at the next
They
meeting.
combine
At least we would
them.
have some progress made.
I'm sorry.
It's, all right, yes, Your Honor.
Are you looking for a short list of 5 people?
No, I am not. We
No,
made the
no,
decision not to.
Okay, hear me out first. Ultimately, are you looking for a short list of 5 people for it to be whittled down to, say, 3 for a possible interview? That's my question.
Okay, that's a fair
And
question.
who are you asking that of?
He was asking
Council.
me.
Council President.
I believe that's what we did with the city clerk, how we had it down to 5, then we put it down to.
So what we would be looking to do is turn in our list of names to the city clerk tonight, and those that cannot turn it into the city clerk tonight will give it to the city clerk at their pleasure.
No, not at the pleasure. I'll get it to her. I'll email her.
At their earliest
That
convenience.
is simply a manner
I
of
can wait
speaking.
till next week.
You can do at your pleasure. You are an elected council member. You could wait till November, I'm sure that, at any rate. And we will all turn in the names that we have for discussion. I think it would be appropriate at this time to ask, how many is on your list? How many is on your list? How many is on your list?
I have
And
10.
how many is on my list?
I have 10.
I have 8.
Counselor Jones has 10.
I have
Counselor
8.
Robinson has 8.
Yeah.
Vice President Head,
They may not be the same, 8 or 10.
6, try to get to 5, but.
I think, Your Honor, while I value your opinion, I think that the hiring of the city manager has to be done by the council, sir. Am I wrong?
That is true. However,
Okay.
if you will look at the Wilson City Manager job description, you will see in here that the Wilson City Manager will receive general directions from the mayor, the president, and the city councilor. So I take it that I can offer opinion even though I cannot vote on it, and I can give you my 5 choices.
I value your opinion. Yes.
It's the will of the council. I have no problem with it. It's just, my
Well, I know that.
understanding is that
Hey,
the
you
council.
guys are gonna be stuck with it more than I am.
And I think with with Zoom, like it is now, I think that we could, if we come up with a top 8 or a top 10, we could talk to all of them if we wanted to. What's it gonna cost? I mean, it's one day, one evening, we could sit here and we could talk to all of them at 30 minutes apart, for 30 minutes, and then kind of whittle it down to that top 5 that we wanted to talk with a little further, and top 3 that we wanted to come. I mean, with
So,
Zoom now, you can do.
Your Honor, you have 5, and I had 11, and I have whittled it down to 5.
I had 15 and
I
I
had
whittled it to 10.
106, but I will do
Well,
that.
I had 11 that I thought would be quality candidates, and I,
8 that are iffy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not overly thrilled about anything, but we have to have a city manager. Although our current city manager is doing an excellent job, and I would hate to
Actually,
see
he's my
him.
number one.
Yeah, I
can
would
see
see
that.
that.
He's right
I
there.
thought
I
saw
looked
his
for his
application.
name, and for some
He's got a
reason,
lot done.
the clerk did not put that name down. I'm not sure why.
What was on the application?
I thought I saw.
That can be taken
I
care
thought I said we
of.
can fill one out for you.
No.
At any rate, that's our situation. So what do we want the city clerk to do? Tabulate all the names she has, not make any decisions, see how many of these candidates were cross-referenced by the council.
Yes.
But she's not gonna do anything other than tabulate all the names and bring it back to us with, Mrs. Wright, with the number of counselors that voted to interview each candidate. If there is 8, 10 candidates and nobody has had 2, then we just need to know it so we can act on it. Is that suitable to the council?
Yes, sir.
And that will be including the list from the mayor, Mrs. Wright. Does that satisfy the council?
A list of every name received and the number of votes they received.
That is correct.
Correct, easy as that.
Easy as that.
Do not take the, I don't know, majority of the applicants with the most votes to interview, because if you just have 4 or 5 that's just got 1 vote, I just don't see why you want to take the time to interview those.
We're not, we're postponing, my understanding, we're postponing this decision until we get what the numbers are.
The tabulation.
We don't know what the numbers are going to be. It could be that we all find one candidate, our choice. If 5 people all had one candidate's name, that's an obvious person that we want to interview.
Oh, absolutely.
But we're dealing in hypotheticals without a name. So what we're going to do is, Mrs. Wright, do you understand what the council has asked you to do? And you understand that the counselor that is not available with hers is going to bring in petals to her pleasure. Okay. Moving forward.
I'll email you that darn counselor.
Item F, discussion with possible action, water supply to Williston Community Resource, brought to us by Council Member Jones.
Okay, I did ask that it be on the agenda because Mr. Fuller and them came to ask us about it. I don't know, and it was not an action item at the time. We heard discussions, so now we need to figure out if there's something we might do to help them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Are you raising your hand to be recognized? Please step to the microphone and state your name for the record, sir.
Yes, my name is Bernard, and I'm the chairman of the Williston. It's Williston area. That's the main thing I wanted to.
Got the name wrong.
Williston area community resource.
Because it is actually outside of the city limits.
Well, that's the name we chose because we want to represent the Williston area. That's the way we're incorporated. Okay?
Are you incorporated, sir?
Yes, we are. We're a 501c3.
You are a 501c3.
Right.
That's a lot more than the animal shelter could do in 6 months.
Well, we got no way to go.
Okay?
There you go.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
that name again one more time for me.
Williston Area Community Resource Incorporated.
Here, thank you, sir.
Thank you for what you're doing for the people.
Thank you.
So, the request by Williston Area Community Resource
Organization.
Corporation is to have a water meter installed at the location of the garden and to have water for free. Is that accurate, what your request is?
Actually, they just asked for water.
That is accurate.
Thank you. That is accurate, that's what they're asking for.
They asked for water.
Water.
They didn't necessarily ask for a meter or no charge, they asked for water.
Well, we can't really provide water without a meter.
I would
Other
assume
than
not.
the way that it was provided before with the busted pipe.
Yeah, we could do that, or we could get volunteers for a pickup truck, as you have tried to do in the past.
Yes.
So, the real issue, as I understand it from Mr. Zamowski,
Yeah, it's a meter.
is we have two issues before us. One, because it is a good cause, is the council willing to pay $2,000 to put a minimum, to put a water meter for this endeavor? Is that accurate, Mr. Zamowski?
That is correct.
Okay. Two, if the council is willing to spend $2,000 of taxpayer money in order to do this resource, to this thing that is valuable to the community, will the council then, because even City Hall has water bills, will the council then pay for the water, which right now is drip line, but who knows? If the water's for free, maybe you'll put in something else. So that is the two things that you're asking this council, so we can be clear on what we're doing.
That is what we're asking.
Okay. I'm going to speak to this first. Even if the council is willing to, at the taxpayer's expense, put a meter on your personal property for this good endeavor, I would never vote to give you free water forever. You can pay for the water out of the management of the endeavor. That's my opinion, and I'm one member of the council, and it's never been done before, but they could just outvote me. So, this is open to the council. Anyone else have anything to say about it? Vice President Head.
Have you raised any funds to be put towards this, if needed?
Only money for structural things like fencing, and we've actually, Mr. Bernard and I donated the money for the piping to put in, to run for the,
Drip line.
for the drip line.
So you will have a fence around the whole property to secure it from,
Well, there's a couple of things we want to secure it from wild hogs to the degree we can, because there's a real problem out there. And secondly, we want to make sure that if we use chemicals on the crop that's out there, that there is at least a barrier with signs that say limited harvest day till certain times, and that it's cleared to do so. And that is an expensive endeavor. We've gotten some donations, but we still are without donations to secure the entire property.
Your Honor.
with that water, are you gonna irrigate, or what are you gonna do?
We're gonna run drip lines to irrigate just the crop itself.
How big a piece of property?
The property that we're looking to irrigate is about an acre.
Okay. Are you going to expand it, or do you know?
Right now, there's no plan to expand it. There are trees on most of the other property, and I've done some clearing of all that I'm willing to do with my equipment to get that acre site.
Was there something planted on that earlier this year?
Yes, and
I thought I
not this year, but
last year.
last year.
Because I know I went by, well, I don't know when, but I knew I went by there and I saw it looked like it was producing something, y'all had planted something else.
Well, we have produced quite a bit out there, and we shared with the community all the things, like it was squash and red potatoes, gold potatoes, there was peas, greens, and the like, but the issue was...
Y'all know he's the retired extension agent, right? He knows what he's growing. He knows what he's growing here.
Tomatoes are not eggplants.
But the issue was that we just could not, we couldn't justify bringing water out there in a pickup truck to do so. But the water usage will be very minimal, because at best, we would want to water for about 2 hours, about 3 times a week.
Okay, when would be your next planting season?
The next planting season, depending on if we can, as soon as we can get water out there, I'd love to have a winter garden that would actually start somewhere around late September, early October.
Is this a co-op type where you come in, each person, each family or something has an area, or? You understand?
I know what you're saying. No, it's not a co-op, so to speak. What we're trying to do is get the community involved. We're trying to get children involved, get parents involved, so they can get children involved all across Wilson area.
Or
Anyone that wants,
something to do.
for them something to do, show them how something's grown, to let them know that they don't come out of a can all up and down in the store.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that this country's having is that all the food that we eat is gone big business, because the local farmers, they're small local farmers. So kids don't know. They don't know how to grow. They don't know how to wear those greens, those peas, they just go in the store. And
They think milk comes from a Dixie, not a cow, right?
Interest in growing.
But your group is gonna structure what's grown and what's there, but they're gonna come in and either help plant, help harvest, help maintain.
Right.
Well, that is the intent, and in addition to that, we are looking at a potential, not this year, but in the coming year, to actually have, young people get a small plot of land, maybe a row, and then there will be a competitive activity on part of the garden where kids can come in and at the end of the process, they can plant, and at the end of the process, they will be able to be judged against each other on how well they maintain their area, as well as how well the crop grew. They may, for instance, eggplants, they may all have their eggplants judged against each other, or the greens, or other things of that nature, such that you provide a greater interest when there is a little competition.
Yes, absolutely.
But you're gonna manage the harvest piece of it. People aren't just gonna come in anytime they want and
That's
pick whatever
correct,
they want.
that's correct, because it's important that if we do put chemicals on, that we allow them to use it at the proper time, and
I say the one we grew, when we grew last year, it was plenty of vegetables out there we grew. And, it was the thing that we just put our money out and planted and stuff to get people interested, to show them what we're gonna do and gonna try to do. And there was plenty of vegetables. I mean, we probably could have fed the little spot out there, third of Williston, with squash and all that kind of stuff, green, I just had to climb up. I mean, but, you know.
Why did you
people-
have to plow them up?
Because they're only for a season.
Well, distribution is.
Because you did not have the means to distribute them, is that?
No,
Okay.
no, we had, you know, we wasn't gathering and taking them out. Some of them we did, but it was a thing where getting people interested, hey, we told everybody that want to go get you some vegetables, you know what I mean, because they're free. Matter of fact, like I say, a sign was donated to us, but we never was able to put it up because, we haven't had the water and we haven't had everything exactly like we want to. They show a community garden, you know what I mean? And, but people, the word is out, people know that we're doing it. And, right now we haven't done anything this year because of, it was just too dry, we had no water. So, and, wasn't gonna need to throw anything down. Now, later, yes, we could plant some rain, but this is not the season unless you want to spray seeds and all that stuff. But now in the fall, yes, you can plant stuff, you know, less bugs, cooler, green, all that stuff, will grow. So, like I said, the water would be used sparingly, very sparingly. It just don't take a lot of water.
Do you have anything else to say?
I don't know how we could do it for free, the meter itself. I suggest we take up donations, and I'm willing to contribute.
$2,000 is a lot of donations.
Not necessarily,
Okay.
depends on how much people donate. And 2,000 is a good number. That's what it'll take to get it there.
That's what was based on a meter that we had just installed for another property in there.
Have any used meters we could use?
No.
Don't laugh. I'm trying to do it.
Well, I'm just laughing because you charged me $2,000 for a meter.
It was smaller.
It was smaller. The only thing was smaller, not as usual. I also don't know how we could do it with taxpayer money for free, but like I said, I am willing to contribute to the cause.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah.
Your Honor.
It would be given to the people or the people inside the city limits, not necessarily just totally on the outside of the council.
Inside the city limits. Yes, it would be a thing that's open to anybody that's in the city limits, outside the city limits. That's what I would say. You gotta understand where we're coming from. We're coming from the avenue of improving and enhancing the citizens of the Williston area, bringing them together, you know. It's not a racial thing, it's not a class thing.
Yeah.
We want everybody to learn, be in harmony, learn how to grow stuff, learn how to get your kids to learn how to do something.
Yeah.
You know, and, excuse me, that's what we want to do. That's our goal,
Yeah.
you know? I've spent countless of dollars. I've been chairman of this thing for years and almost let it go. But I don't worry about, you know, it don't really bother me, you know what I mean? I don't know how much money I spend. But I'll guarantee you, it's probably, if I had to count from the time I've been in this organization, I'd probably spent $10,000 one way or the other,
Yeah.
you know? But it's just money.
How long would your fall season, planting season,
Our fall
growing season last? How many months?
It was,
Usually 90 days. 90 to 120 days maximum.
well, no, not necessarily, because,
To rotate them.
yeah, not necessarily. If you plant in September, you can go all the way, matter of fact, you can go all the way, you can grow some crops all the way to March of next year.
Okay.
You know, people say you can't plant late greens in the winter. Yes, you can,
Okay.
you know, greens, things like that, I prove them, you can. You can do it. Greens will grow, your vegetables like that, they'll grow if you got water, and they'll grow up until March, and then in April we had greens. You know, for that year, light them up. Peas. Yeah.
I'd like to figure out a way to get it done. I do have concern with the bill after. I don't know how we could just unlimited say it's free water just because anything could happen so let me ask you a question. If we figure out a way to get the water there, are you gonna be able to pay for the water every month, knowing it's a minimal amount of water? The water bills are not
Yeah, I don't think it'll be
high in the city.
$25.
If it's $20 a month, I'm just, as an example.
Well,
We don't have a way to pay per se, but it would come out of the volunteers' pocket.
and out of the members of the organization pocket.
Or,
And, yeah.
or as your organization gets more recognition and grows, if you had a fundraiser, or say somebody wanted to have a barbecue dinner or something, I mean, you have a 501c3 that can raise money for operational costs,
Yes.
right?
I feel, you know, if we was to get it, I'm sure there's some kind of way, if it was $20, $25, whatever, which would probably be a minimum, it'll get paid some kind of way, you know. We're not into this thing just to get in and get out. No, this ain't no joke. I'm not wasting my time. I'm trying to do something constructive, you know. If I couldn't see no end goal, I wouldn't be here before you.
Your Honor.
Since it's gonna benefit the residents within the city limits, this is just my opinion, and elsewhere, but mostly for the residents of the city limits of Williston, I would suggest or recommend that the city pay for the 2,000 and from the end of September to the end of March, not charge them for at least their first planting season to see how that goes. But that's just my thoughts.
Let me be clear. I don't know if Mr. Bernard stated it incorrectly, but this is for people in and around Williston. It's not, we will not stop at the city limits.
Oh, I know that.
Okay.
Oh, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Oh, no, I know that.
And the only money I can think of that may be sitting that we didn't use, and somebody tell me if we did. We had a summer recreation program that was budgeted for this year, and we obviously didn't have it.
We actually used that money.
Did we use it already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We had $2,000 budgeted, we only used $1,000 so far. One campaign. One campaign, okay, sorry.
And we didn't use any.
We did use that money as the end result of that discussion, correct? Okay.
I was thinking since it was for the children, this was for the children too, that we could just transfer it to them, but.
Yeah, but it's used.
The whole amount is used?
We had $2,000 that was on the agenda, one camp is going on, the other camp didn't, and that was used to help the backpacks.
Okay. All right.
But
I
we
knew
did-
about the backpacks, I didn't know about the other camp.
The coalition camp is going on.
Didn't know about that.
But we didn't use fireworks that money either. And it's sitting there in the budget. Just a thought.
Just a thought. The other one was a good connection because it was children.
Yeah, I would really like to help somehow.
CJ's doing something.
Yes.
The only question that comes to my mind, I'm all for it.
Zamowski, utility manager.
I'm all for it as well. The only concern I have at this point, we do have to track the water and everything. That's easy enough to do. However, in the future, how are we gonna differentiate between giving to one 501c3 and not another? We have another one that is wanting utility services as well.
I
So
think
is
it's
this
the
a-
fair
this
as
a-
well, when the fair had had water, we paid our water bill.
Correct.
If that meter's still there, you can pull it.
Well, that was like, I don't want to ask an obvious question that we were, is there any other option other than a $2,000 meter?
No, we have to meter every connection within the city limits, within the state by law.
Is there a cheaper
There are no
meter?
more unmetered connections, so
For a cheaper meter than 2,000?
absolutely, it depends on the volume of water that they're needing. What was proposed originally when they're having, if it was just a small drip line and they were moving it, that's one thing. Pressure loss and everything else, you have to maintain the 23 pounds throughout that system, so if it's just a 3/4 service line, you can drain that pretty quickly, just with drip lines. 3/4 water meter, $510 for the installation.
Hey, now we're getting somewhere.
Puts out 40 gallons a minute. The 2-inch puts out 250 gallons a minute.
One is a residential and the other is commercial.
Correct.
Would a residential meter meet the demands that you have?
At this point, probably not. If we had known that in advance, yes, but now that we have equipped it with 2-inch lines, we've run all 2-inch lines throughout that.
You have 2-inch lines for drip line irrigation?
Yes.
I take back my offer, mine is only 1 inch.
But what we've done, we've run the 2-inch line, that's the supply line. And off of this 2-inch line, there are 6 or 8 spots where we've reduced down, we've come down to a 1-inch on that area.
Yeah.
And each one be isolated. It's not something that we're going to go out and turn on to, you know what I mean?
You don't water each section unless it needs it.
It's
Gotcha.
6 or 7 points. So we can turn it off. This will be a 1-inch pipe, on 2-inch pipe, and run the drip and isolate different areas. Only as needed.
But the answer to my question was, is that sufficient? And you said no. Is that correct?
I would have to look and see if that's possible to do that, but I think we're able to do it if we're watering different sections at different times.
You turn on one section at a time, it might be enough.
Can I ask this, is there the 3/4 line, and then there's a 2-inch line, is there a 1-inch line, an 1.5-inch line? I mean, a pipe, a meter?
There are, but because they start getting into oddball sizes, 3/4, 1-inch, and 2-inch are about the most common. You can actually pay more for an 1.5-inch meter than you do for a 2-inch. With a 2-inch line, you're not going to have enough residual pressure in that. It'll bleed off pretty quickly. If all the infrastructure is 2-inch, then they need to go with a 2-inch meter.
And that's $1,000.
$2,000.
It's almost $2,000 by the time you get the enclosure, lockable enclosure, and all of that. And you also have, in a 30 days period of time, you can lose 10 million gallons of water out of that meter.
But certainly, we have never used that kind of.
Sir?
Yeah, it's not using the water. It's if the line breaks or something like that, and it's not kept an eye on, that's a lot of water to account for.
As you know, lines do break.
Yeah.
So is there any consensus, because we've had a lot of discussion, but I haven't heard any consensus. We would all clearly like to help you, but what we're struggling with is we have a responsibility to the people that give those taxes. And we are struggling with the fact that while it's an excellent thing, can we, with good conscience, spend, it's not our money, it's other people's money. Can we spend other people's money to assist this 501c3 organization, regardless of how worthy it is? And that is the struggle that this council is faced with, sir. We've talked about it, I think, long enough. Councilor Jones? this lady right here, who brought this up, has suggested that she would be willing to donate to your project. You've been trying to do this for years now,
Let's try to raise some money.
and she would like to, I don't know if you know what GoFundMe is. I'm assuming you do. I barely do. Perhaps she can get a GoFundMe page going. The city is willing to help, but it's not our money that we're giving out. So unless a counselor comes up with a resolution, there's nothing that we're going to be able to do to alleviate the situation that you have, regardless of how much we would want to. So is there a motion?
I'm not gonna make a motion. I don't see a way that we can. But I'm gonna tell you, after the meeting, I'll talk to you and we'll figure out how to get the money.
Yeah.
I've raised enough money in this town for different causes that we can get that money.
We know
He's
enough
a
farmers to
banker.
raise the money.
He's a banker and they roll money.
And that's me personally offering to help, not the.
Yeah. Well, like I say, any help we can get, we would be appreciated. And like I said, you know, if we just got the meeting and got the water, I'm sure, and I'm going out on a limb saying that the $25 or $30 whatever the minimum would be, I'm sure that bill would get paid. You know,
Yeah.
if I had to pay it out of my pocket.
Yeah, if it wasn't paid, your water would be cut off.
Well, I know.
It
But
won't
what
be
I'm
nice.
saying is, it wouldn't be in vain. And what I'm saying is, but, yeah.
We appreciate the council's
All right.
consideration.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We appreciate what you do for the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a motion? Going once? Going twice? Item G, discussion with possible action, referendum on general election ballot. And I am here because I got in the middle of this. So I want to share the information that I have. I don't know what member of the council or the mayor knows about it, but I was here for a meeting. When was that, Latricia? Wednesday? Wednesday at 1 o'clock, in which Tammy Jones was trying to find a way to help us. Those are her words. The bottom line is that contrary to what was published in the Williston Pioneer, there is nothing on the agenda, as the mayor noted, that brought this referendum to ballot. It didn't happen.
What referendum are we talking about?
We're talking about the referendum that this motion is about, which was the revision of the charter to increase pay of council members and the mayor. It was put on the, it was a yes, we did a referendum on it, am I correct?
We did, yeah.
No, you did an ordinance too, and a resolution. Now, let me explain what happened.
You wanna explain what happened? 'Cause, what happened,
Okay, you go ahead and then I'll
what happened was that there was a miscommunication, as my understanding, I don't know what happened. There was a miscommunication between the city clerk and the city attorney. He said one thing, she thought he meant something else, and it never got filed until it was past the deadline. And we then attempted to get it on the general election. And that's what this letter is about. It did not go on the primary, which was what a referendum asked for. The Tammy Jones Supervisor of Elections said that, I just wanted to update you on the status of the general election ballot layout. I have been told by Director Matthews that I may, not will, may receive language for the 6 amendments. There are 6 amendments already on the general election, which puts her into what she calls a 2-ballot system. And what she is suggesting is that there is a very real possibility, regardless of what she wants to do, that this may not make it to the general election either. And that if it does not make it to the general election, the only choice left is to wait till March when the city has its own elections, at which time nothing else is on the ballot, so it will clearly get the citizens' opinion. Your Honor, do you think something other than that?
No.
Okay. So the issue is, after discussing it, and I thought about it, it would have been nice to have it on the primary. It would have been nice to have it on the general election, but the supervisor of elections pointed out to me, and I hadn't really considered it, is when you have a general election with 2 ballots and multiple items on the 2 ballots, things like referendums for city council pay sometimes don't get very much attention from the voters. And they tend to, while it's on the ballot, it doesn't get any attention. So it may be a blessing in disguise that we just get this and put it on the, it's not anything I have any control over. According to the supervisor of elections, it's nothing she has any control over. However, the issue is that we may not have it on until after the March elections, in which councilors and people are citywide only elections. And after I thought about it, I said, you know, that's actually not that bad, because more people will pay attention to it if that's what it is, because that's all that's happening on the ballot. So at any rate, the issue is that, A, contrary to what was printed in the paper, it will not be on the primary. There was a mistake, a miscommunication, it just didn't happen. The supervisor of elections is attempting to get it on the general election, but via the phone conversation, I can tell you, I don't think it's gonna happen. So, for the council's information, we may be on the general election, but we cannot be given a certainty that we will be on the general election at this time. So that's really all that this is. This is just a point that the referendum that we had intended to have on the primary, there was an error. It did not get there. And as a result of that error, there's a good chance it won't be on the general election. It is unknown at this time. Is there any questions from the council?
Just to comment that I was glad that it was gonna be on the primary or the general election, because you do get more people than you get at a city. I mean, obviously, you only the city electors would vote on it.
Correct.
But you get more coming. And if we don't have an election for some reason, it'll be postponed again.
Exactly.
Because we wouldn't want to have it just for that. And that being said, I'll say that we obviously don't do this for the money.
You're kidding.
Yeah, just for the audience, we do not do this for the money. Probably this week, I don't know about y'all, but I probably spent 8, 10, 11 hours just looking at city manager
You must be a
applications.
speed reader.
Oh, yeah, I'm telling you, days, 4 or 5 hours at a time. Just looking, not
Well,
the agenda, but
we
the council.
appreciate it, but
So we
it's
don't do
not
it for the
gonna
money. Right. I would rather have more people come, because more people will participate in the vote.
For the general as well.
Yeah, but if it doesn't happen, I understand that a 2-page ballot is.
I've never heard of it, but according to her, it's
You had to have a
very-
3rd page, it would be twice as costly.
And she is not saying,
Yeah.
so we're clear, she is not saying it won't be on the general election. She is saying that there are 6 amendments ahead of it, and the chances are getting lessened.
Yep. We'll just have to wait.
So everybody understands the issue, and of course, we, while it's not gonna be on the general election, we can't just leave it standing, so we've got to agree that we understand it's not going to be on the general, it's not necessarily gonna be on the general election. Okay? Your Honor.
If you find out it's not gonna be on the general election, does it need to come before the council here to, make sure that it is on the, March ballot?
That's an excellent question, sir. I don't have an answer. It was a referendum duly voted on by the council.
But there was a
And there was a date given to the primary, but we were acting like we could put it on the general, and that's not what the referendum was. I would have to look at the reading of the referendum. Mr. Coberlin, have you looked at that referendum?
I believe that it will need to be set because we need to get the date and then set it to be a resolution also.
For the March, election?
Yes.
Which we will not, don't we also need to do that for the general election?
For the city election.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, we would if we were gonna put it on that one.
Right, exactly.
Ms. Wright and I have discussed it.
Okay.
As soon as Ms. Jones tells us, as you mentioned, updates us on the status, then we'll know what we need to do.
So, we would, yes, Your Honor, we will have to bring this back for a new referendum. The referendum that we put in motion expired when it didn't happen, and we will simply have to have a new referendum. Thank you for pointing that out, sir. Any other comments about this? When the supervisor of election gives us a notice of what will happen, I'm assuming that the city clerk will notify all members of the council that it has happened so that they can have knowledge that the referendum will be coming. Is that acceptable? Okay. Discussion with possible action, proposed revision of chapter 48. This monster is back.
But this one's easy.
Council Member Jones.
This one's easy.
Okay.
If you remember, I added this to the agenda because Ms. Brandon was here and we were talking about it, she asked us. However, in that same meeting, Ms. Gorman told us that she was going to represent it, to the Board of Adjustments and have them look at it and probably then hand it off to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we don't have to look at it until they bring it back to us.
Yes.
So this is on hold for now.
That is for your reading?
Yes, ma'am, just so you can become.
I just remember, how's the right way to say this? I remember fighting this monster for
The first time.
many hours the first time, trying to find a way that it would be reasonable and not prohibitive to have on our books.
Right.
And maybe Ms. Gorman can find a way to do that. It will be an uphill battle for me.
I think they're gonna bring us back
Okay.
to commercial and not residential. Or vice
I don't know, but since we're not gonna do it, we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, we
You'll
do.
let us know, right?
I will.
All right. Item 6, public participation. Any member of the public that would like to talk to the council about anything, this is your second attempt tonight. Is there anybody that would like to present something to the council? Mr. Case Carson,
I'm looking at him.
is there anybody in the other audience chamber? Aaron, has anybody called on?
Anybody online would like to speak?
Is that a no, sir?
That is a negative.
Okay. Item 7, announcements. I would like to go the different direction today. We're always going that way.
But you should start here and go that way.
No, we don't, I always start this way and come this way.
Oh. I don't think so.
Let's see, who do I even start with? The city manager's got all these people in here. Okay, this is just for the, Mrs. Wright,
Anyone to go to meetings like this?
City Manager Strode,
Here, city manager,
City Attorney Coverland,
Yes, sir.
Councilor Jones.
No, sir.
I have nothing, Your Honor. Vice President Head.
I'm gonna be trying to help the Williston Area Community Resource Organization raise funds if anybody would like to donate.
We should give it to you.
No, give it him,
Well, who do we give a check to?
not to me.
Okay.
Just gonna spread the word.
There you go. But you're gonna put it on on social media.
No, I'm not on social media.
You're not on social, so you want us to do it. Who do you want us to put it on here?
Well, we gotta talk about what they've done so far.
Okay.
Just be aware that we do not violate the sunshine law while you're both trying to be helpful to a good organization.
That's why I'm asking him now, because I can't ask you later.
I'm not on Facebook or anything, so
Really?
if they'd like for you to put something together on there, that would be fine. I'm gonna locally try to reach out to.
How can you not be on Facebook? That's like
We
not
have to go into
Facebook.
Because
You're so smart.
I creep on my wife's Facebook just enough to know what's going on, and then I go away, so.
Good for you. Councilor Robinson,
Nothing, I have nothing.
Wayne Carson,
No, sir.
this meeting is adjourned.
I got too much.
Hold on,